One thing I've found in the last 30 years, 25 to 30 years of e-commerce is that you have a lot of technological advancements, not only in terms of what the customer is expecting, but also what the stores are willing to deliver. Okay, so in a lot of in a lot of niches, in a lot of let's say sectors, a lot has changed in terms of you have new apps, you have new platforms, and you have to understand. 30 years ago, you had the rise of the .com bubble, right? Basically, you can't really say a bubble and rising in the same sentence, but that's really what it was because you had the .com actually coming to a peak, and then you had a bubble. And the thing is that you had a lot of stores, a lot of online stores actually engulfed into that bubble. Okay, but the cool thing is that you had more solid, you have more I would say like sturdier platforms. So nowadays, if you want to sell online, you can really bet that the platform you choose is actually a great platform, or at least has as many solid features as possible. Okay. One thing I want to say here is in the last 30 years, 25 to 30 years of e-commerce, you had a lot of ups and downs in terms of what the customers is actually expecting. Back in the days, customers were willing to wait a couple of days for, or even a couple of weeks for their orders to actually be delivered. But nowadays, with the let's say with a good habit, you can call it good habit or bad habit from Amazon. Customers are expecting actually to have their orders delivered within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, so that really that that's a big shift in expectations. So nowadays, if you have, let's say, if you have an online store and you try to really make money online, you really want to make sure that you are really fast in terms of shipping. I don't care where your suppliers are. If your suppliers are in China and you have customers in the States, you still need to find a way to make sure that you provide the goods and that you provide the goods within a time, let's say within a timely manner. Okay, that's an important element. But the cool thing is that you have a lot of let's say a middleman like intermediaries. They're really helping you. Like for instance, you have the 3PL shippers like Bob Ship. I mean Ship Bob rather, Ship Bob or Aftership. They're really are helping you big time. You also have Amazon FBA helping too. Okay, so that's an important element. So you have a shift in customers' expectation. You also have a shift in the let's say the offer when it comes to online selling. One thing I've seen the last 30 years, and that you should really understand if you want to make money in e-commerce, is that you have the emergence of major players. Okay, 30 years ago, nobody knew of Shopify, for instance. Nobody knew of BigCommerce. Nobody knew of WooCommerce. Of course, people knew of Amazon back then, but Amazon was not really strong. Amazon back then was actually selling books. They were selling books. They were competing with Barnes and Noble. The people who are familiar with Barnes and Noble back in the days, Barnes and Nobles was actually the dominant player. Nowadays, you have the emergence of big players such as Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Wix. You have all the other I would say providers of ancillary services when it comes to e-commerce. And I'm not even talking about those developers, those companies that specialize in providing plugins and themes for e-commerce stores. In the last 30 years, what I've seen is that basically e-commerce stores have become more complex, more sophisticated, especially with the addition of plugins and also themes, okay, and templates. But the most important thing is the themes and and the plugins. Okay, for instance, if you look at WordPress and you go to a WordPress the plugin marketplace, you have thousands of WordPress plugins. That's crazy. I mean, that's really crazy. I mean, nowadays you can't really think about having a WordPress website, or even a regular website without thinking about a plugin, because plugins actually help you enhance the let's say the profile of your online store. Okay, for instance, if you want to really let's say if you want to automate how you collect the reviews, maybe the website builder that you actually have doesn't have that functionality. So a plugin can really help you out. Now, plugins can really help you out, but they can be costly too. I mean, when you think about it, plugins you have to really you have to get them on on a subscription basis, which means every month they're charging you, or every year they're charging you, right? So that's an important element to think about if you are going to have a successful online store these days. One thing I've seen in the last 30 years, 25, 30 years, when it comes to e-commerce or store, is to actually think about the fact that technology has really shifted how online sellers, how store owners are actually interacting with users. Okay, technology has really has been very beneficial in terms of how you are enhancing user experience, how you are achieving efficient supply chain management, and how you are securing transactions. I want to first talk about the security of transactions. Nowadays, you basically have those padlocks that you see on websites, the URL, like the SSL. That's really quite essential. And I'm not even talking about SSL anymore. I mean, SSL is actually the outdated version of TLS. Nowadays, you are speaking about TLS. Okay, that's the more advanced version, and they are even talking about having an AI-driven TLS process. In other words, to be able to encrypt the data in the e-commerce store from the customer to the website owner. That's really fantastic. So the security of transactions has been at the forefront of developments in the last 25 to 30 years, and this is just because when you look at it, customers have actually shifted their expectations. Nowadays, people are paying attention to the security of their data because they have so many ways of shopping or of paying for goods and services online, right? So if you have an online store nowadays and you are actually selling whatever you're selling, I don't care whatever you're selling, you got to make sure that the data, your customers' data, are secure. Whether you have SSL certificates, whether you have a certificate authority, whether you have like a pretty secure process at checkout. Like maybe you use Apple Pay, or you use PayPal, or you use Stripe, or you use another player, Square Capital, whatever. Okay. So the security of transactions is really quite essential. One thing I've seen in the last 30 years also is that the supply chain management. So the efficiency you can really have through technology in the supply chain management. I'm speaking here about the software you can use to actually manage things like inventory, like the inventory of your online store. And if you have drop shipping as a business model, you're not maintaining inventory, but you're actually dealing with third party drop shipping suppliers, and you might need a platform, aka a software tool, to kind of help you out too. Okay, and also in terms of enhancing user experience, that's an important element that I've seen also in terms of how online store owners are actually interacting with prospects and customers nowadays. One thing I've also seen when it comes to this whole the last 30 years is that I've seen a lot of changes in terms of social media, like basically the integration of social media and e-commerce. I mean, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, social media was not a thing, right? There were no social media. I mean, Facebook, if you think about Facebook, they actually came on board 20 years ago. So 30 years ago, there was no social media. 25 years ago, there was none. Okay. But nowadays, you cannot really sell online if you don't integrate your e-commerce store to your social media, to social media platforms. I don't care the one that you choose: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, YouTube, but you got to have a way to integrate your store. Otherwise, you'll be losing a lot of cash. You'll be losing a lot of cash. Okay, so that's one thing I've seen in the last 25 to 30 years, that social media has gained prominence a lot in terms of social selling, for instance. Okay, or even influencer marketing. If you have like, depending on the niche you're in, and you're trying to really let's say boost your profits, you boost your income boost your sales, sometimes going through influencers can really help you big time, especially if you are really if those influencers have a captive audience. If they have a captive audience, if they have a captive audience, that's pretty good because you're really talking about your ability to resonate with your prospects at a very deep level. What I've seen also in the last 25 to 30 years is that you have a shift in consumer behavior and vis-a-vis e-commerce. What do I mean by that? Well, you have change in shopping habits. People are shopping differently. People are shopping on e-commerce stores' own website, or they are even shopping. Actually, they some of them are shopping basically through other platforms such as marketplaces like Amazon, Etsy, or eBay, or you will go to the stores itself, Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, or just do the social shopping. In other words, people are shopping now from Facebook without leaving Facebook. Okay, nowadays you have something called shoppable videos. So if you have an online store and you're able to integrate your online store to a Facebook, for instance, or Instagram for that matter, you can have through shoppable videos. You can make sales, and folks don't have to leave the platform to actually shop on your store. They don't have to go to your store's website to actually shop. So that's kind of cool because it really means that the social media platforms are retaining their audience, and you are making sales too. That's a win-win. That's a win-win proposition for both you as an e-commerce store owner and the social medias where you are at. Okay, so that's an important element. So you also have the fact that nowadays, let's say shoppers want personalized experiences. Okay, gone are the days where folks are just happy with you actually just selling them, just giving them a standard offer. No, nowadays everybody just wants to have something more personalized. That's something I've seen a lot in the last 25 to 30 years. Back in the days, there was not such a need for a personalized shopping. Nowadays, with things like cookies, with things like plugins, with things like AI, you are really going towards a personalization of shopping experiences. So if I am say a 35-year-old shopping for hats, for instance, the experience you're giving me will be different from the experience you're giving, let's say my wife, who's interested in cosmetics, for instance. This is a hypothetical example, by the way, but I just want to give you the kind of experience you are thinking about if you want to personalize things for your customers. And that's an important element if you are trying to really reach that level of connection at a very deep level. One thing I've seen in the last 40 years, not 40 years, 30 years, 25 years, when it comes to e-commerce store ownership, it's really the importance of mobile. That's crazy. That's really crazy. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, 30 years ago, we had no smartphones. I mean, we probably have smartphones, but they were as big as, an elephant's foot. But the thing is nowadays, with the importance of, with the prominence of online shopping via mobile commerce has become very, very important. And when I speak about mobile commerce, I'm not just speaking about actually you having your store being responsibly designed, right? If you have a Shopify store, you want to make sure that your store is accessible properly via mobile. That I get that. But what I see here is that nowadays you have the ability for shoppers, okay, to not only shop from their smartphones, but to also access more products, more services, but also pay through let's say wallets, what they call mobile wallets, pay through systems that are inherently mobile. Let me explain. Basically, if you shop nowadays, you don't have to really use your credit card anymore. Credit card the credit card seems to be a thing of the past in some situations. Nowadays, through a Google Wallet, through Apple Pay, through Samsung Wallet, for instance, to name a few, you are able to actually pay without even touching a plastic, touching a card, right? That's a big development. So if you are an online store owner, You got to really pay attention to those things. Now, you also have the emergence of mobile apps. So if you think about mobile apps, I mean, back in the days, there were none. Nowadays, they're everywhere. And mobile apps actually allow you to do a lot of things. I mean, going back to what I said earlier about the personalization of the experiences, that's an important element that only mobile apps can really bring to the fore, can bring to market. You also have the ability to have push notifications, but also loyalty rewards. See, what the thing is, when you really analyze this whole development, what you have in the end is a boost in revenue, right? You have the ability to sell more, the ability to sell consistently. You also have location based services. You have enhanced payment solutions. You have social commerce integration. You have augmented reality in shopping, the AR. Everybody talks about AI, but people should be giving more credit to AR, augmented reality. What I've seen in the last 30 years when it comes to e-commerce is the fact that things have globalized big time, okay? So nowadays, if you're somewhere in Nigeria, if you're somewhere in New York, if you're somewhere in the Maldives, if you're somewhere in Germany, no matter where you are at, you could potentially have global rivals. In other words, if you are in Nigeria, you could be competing against a seller in say Germany, or against a seller in Brazil, or against a seller in I mean, you name it, in Bali or in China. Why? Because you have the globalization, right? Basically, e-commerce has expanded in international markets thanks to things like logistics and trade agreements, thanks to localized user interfaces, thanks to the fact that those are social media that I was telling you a little earlier about, when they were built for a global audience. They're not built for a national audience. They're not built for a local audience. They're built for a global audience. So because of that, you got to have the ability to actually have a strategy that talks about, let's say, the global audience. Okay, even marketplaces such as a Facebook marketplace that are, let's say, inherently localized, they still are competing with a global audience. I mean, competing against they are competing against global rivals. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, if you have a platform on Facebook Marketplace, for instance, you always have to understand that you could be potentially facing global rivals. Okay, but the thing is, global e-commerce trends are here to stay. Okay, in terms of marketing, in terms of adoption of local trends and products, in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of blockchain, in terms of virtual reality. Okay, you have a lot going on that front too. So what I've seen in the last 35, 30, 25 years when it comes to e-commerce store, if you want to make money, if you want to boost your profits, if you want to make millions of dollars, you have to really embrace e-commerce marketing. You have to embrace marketing in general. And marketing actually has many layers. Don't think about marketing as just a way of creating buzz around your business. No, marketing can be, let's say, active, what I call proactive, or it can be passive. So active means that you are actually you are maybe maintaining a blog. Nowadays, if you have an online store and you don't have a blog, you are missing big time, because blogs can really help you in terms of SEO, search engine optimization. And SEO for e-commerce is really quite essential. Sorry, I apologize. SEO for e-commerce is quite essential because you this is how you are organically are able to actually drive traffic to your store. So think about it. This is an important element to think about. Okay, so and SEO really allows you to do a lot of things. Drive organic traffic. Think about keywords and content for your products. Okay, and you also got to think about SEM, not just SEO. That's something I've seen in the last 30 years, that SEM wasn't really prominent back then, but nowadays, whew, you cannot have a store without SEM. SEM stands for search engine marketing. That has to do with PPC, right? Paid search advertising, paid per click. In other words, you're going through Google. you're going through Facebook, you're going through a Pinterest, you're going through a YouTube, and you are driving you're driving paid traffic to your store, to your online store. Okay. What I've seen also when it comes to marketing the last 30 years is that you have social media marketing. So you have the ability to have brand engagement, influencer partnerships. Okay. That's an important element. But also, finally, the emergence of email marketing, right? You have the ability build email lists, to send emails at regular interval, the ability to actually use that email and have shoppable links in that email. So going back to the what I told you about shoppable videos, you can also have shoppable links. And finally, what I've seen in the last 30 years of e-commerce stores is that basically online store owners are also embracing IoT, Internet of Things. In other words, smart shelves, IoT inventory management, automated checkouts, a lot of stuff are happening. And they're really automating the whole process for shoppers. So in the epilogue into this conversation, I spoke to you about the last 30 years of e-commerce store shifts or trends, what I've seen. And I went through a technology, I went through mobile commerce, I went through social media integration, among other things. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.